This is Jim Williams with the Hurricane City Tropical Update for October 10th, 1 p.m. This is something you never want to see on your screen, and this is what's known as the blue screen of death. About 2 weeks ago, a computer that does the live streaming at hurricanecity.tv as well as these tropical update videos crashed due to registry errors, and this was caused by streaming flash 24 hours a day. A lot of these PCs are not designed for flash presentations, and so we're going to have to do some upgrades during the off season, but this computer was recovered over the past several days and we're now back to doing the update videos. But as a rule, if you see this window, try to fix the problem, the errors that are on your computer, because it will get worse over time. And make sure you back up all your programs and your registration numbers and everything so that you can recover all this information if you lose it. So anyway, we're back online with the same computer, and we'll get through the hurricane season and do some upgrades during the off season. So let's go ahead and get right to business here and find out what's going on out in the Atlantic Basin. First of all, let's take a look at the inventory of the 2010 Atlantic hurricane season so far and see what's happened. Notice we have a lot of recurvatures out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Basically an open hole out here for recurvatures out in the open Atlantic, and this is good news for anybody that does not want to have to deal with a hurricane in the United States, to have this kind of a pattern. You have an East Coast trough and a weak or non-existent Bermuda high that allows a lot of recurvatures. Now, we did have tropical storms affect South Florida. We had Bonnie and Nicole down here. We had Hermine and Alex and a few others affect near South Texas down here. But other than that, the United States has been pretty spared this hurricane season. Now, if you go back in history to 1900 and let's look at all the hurricane seasons that have had 15 or more named storms, there's only been a couple of them that have not had any landfalling hurricanes in the United States with 15 or more named storms. The majority of the seasons do have hurricanes that make landfall in the United States. So this is rare to have this many named storms and not have any direct hurricane impacts on the United States. But we have a little ways to go yet, and I want to show you some images coming up here to kind of squash the theory out here that the hurricane season's over for the United States, because we have a ways to go. For example, back in 1916, we had a system developed down near where 98L is located, went across the Yucatan, and then it moved north. And this happens a lot this time of the year due to cold fronts that push across the United States and turn named storms to the north. This affected the Florida Panhandle and Alabama as a Category 1 hurricane in around the 19th of October. And let's look at the next system. This is Hurricane Hazel. And Hurricane Hazel developed back in 1954 and affected the mid-Atlantic states in the middle of October as a Category 3 hurricane came in near the South Carolina-North Carolina border and hit a lot of areas in the northeastern United States with very high winds. So even the people up in the northeast can be affected this time of the year. Now here is Isabel back in 1964, and this developed down near where 98L is located. Went right near the west tip of Cuba, became a major hurricane, cut across the state of Florida, causing a lot of damage in South Florida, and then moved north into the mid-Atlantic states again. This is an interesting track here. Back in 1989, Hurricane Jerry developed in the Bay of Campeche. That's been kind of a hotbed for activity this year, and this system moved north and affected near Galveston as a Category 1 hurricane. So yes, even Texas can be affected in mid-October. It's rare, but it can happen. Here's Wilma. Everybody remembers the most intense hurricane in the Atlantic Basin developed down here. Around the 20th of October, it became the Category 5, the most intense hurricane ever recorded, and then hit the Yucatan for a couple days as a major hurricane. Headed towards Florida, hit Cat 3 near southwest Florida, and Category 1 and 2 conditions over the metro areas of southeast Florida caused a lot of damage. Also in the Bahamas, they were badly affected as this moved out into the open Atlantic. So there's a lesson to be learned. The season is not over, and the southeastern United States needs to be vigilant down here because things are not all that unfavorable in the Caribbean Sea. Let's get to those images. I'll get to the reasons of that in just a minute. Here is the current graphical tropic weather outlook from the National Hurricane Center. And we have Otto exit stage right. This is becoming extratropical near the Azores out here. They'll get some windy weather. Now all eyes are focused on Invest 98L down in the southwest Caribbean Sea. We'll have a long time to watch this system. This is going to linger down there for quite a while. Elsewhere, things are pretty quiet. Now here's where Invest 98L started near Cuba. It's moved due south, and now it's doing a little loop here, and it's going to head more to the northwest over the coming days. And here are the early model runs on this, basically northwest towards Central America. There's a couple of models that take it up into the Florida Straits near South Florida. In fact, yesterday the GFDL had it up in here as a near Category 3 hurricane and then cutting across the Florida Straits. But even that has backed off this morning, and they all keep this clustered down in the western Caribbean Sea. Now at chris'stropicalatlantic.com I ran 48 potential models on Invest 98L, and out of the 48 models, almost 92% of the models keep it down in this area down here, and only about 8% take it up in this area. So the consensus is 9 out of 10 models keep it down near Central America for the next 4 to 5 days. But again, if this lingers down here, it could be a problem down the road. We'll have to watch it closely. Right, here's the climatological averages for probability for formation in the western Caribbean Sea. And I know it's kind of hard to see that on your screen, so I'm going to illustrate a little bit about what's happening here. The black line here indicates the averages for this time of the year for development in the Caribbean Sea, and notice it goes up in October. This is the prime time development time for the Caribbean Sea, even more so than June and July down here, when there's only about maybe a 1 or 2% chance on average, whereas right now we're around 3 or 4% chance at the height of the Caribbean development season. In fact, right now we're even higher than that. We're up around 3 or 4% for the current probabilities of development in the Caribbean Sea. Now the spike here is from Nicole. That's where Nicole developed over here. So again, that's way above the normal for development down in the Caribbean Sea. That's another reason why we kind of keep a very close eye on this region. Now here is the wind shear averages for this time of the year. The black line again indicates where we should be. The shear is the least in the third week of September rather, and then it goes up a little bit in October, but still much lower than it is back here in June. We have about 23 knots of shear on average in June, but right now we're only down around 18 knots of shear on average in the Caribbean. But look where we're at right now, down around 10 knots of shear. So things are very ripe and favorable down in the Caribbean Sea. Alright, let's take a look at, and I hope I never have to see that screen again. Alright, here's the visible shot of Invest 98L, and you can see the banding going on here. There's banding down here, there's banding over land, so there is a rotation out here, definite center of circulation somewhere in here, but the National Hurricane Center has not dispatched any hurricane hunters for this system, and they don't have any scheduled. I guess they're waiting to see if this gets better organized, but again, the consensus is northwest near land. In fact, most of the intensity models are keeping this a very weak tropical storm because it's going to be interacting with land down here for the next few days. And let's go to our water vapor loop and show you what's happening in the Atlantic Basin. A big swath of dry air in the southeast right now, all through here. All this is dry, sinking air, which is unfavorable for tropical development. And we have a very strong jet stream running through here, 30, 40, 50 knots of shear over Florida. So even if something were to be up in here right now, it'd get absolutely shredded by upper level winds. But Invest 98L is down in a low shear environment down here where there's a lot of moisture, so this could go ahead and develop, and this dry air will slowly retrograde back to the north, and this could fill in a little bit in the Caribbean Sea. So we need to keep an eye on this going into late week. This could still be lingering in the Gulf of Honduras or the western Caribbean Sea up in here. Elsewhere things are quiet, as I stated. We'll keep an eye on this situation, and you can too at hurricanecity.com. I'll be back in a couple of days with another tropical update video, depending on what happens with Invest 98L. Get the latest at hurricanecity.com. That's it for now. Thank you for visiting Hurricane City.